We're handed a script from birth: graduate by 22, secure a job, and follow the path to freedom. It promises that checking these societal boxes will lead to a predictable, satisfying life. The data shows that for most of us, that script fails. Roughly 75% of young adults hit a wall in their mid-20s, feeling less like they're succeeding and more like they're completely lost. This happens because of the one-track mind. We spent our early years driven by extrinsic motivation, making decisions to satisfy the expectations of parents, teachers, and a world that tells us what we should want. When you finally enter the workforce, that external structure vanishes. You're left with the sudden weight of independence in an environment that feels like an endless cycle of identical days, resulting in a deep, clinical sense of being trapped. This fog isn't a sign that you've failed to find your purpose. It is the onset of a vital, scientifically recognized developmental stage. It's the necessary friction required to move you toward a life you actually want to live. Phase 1 of this crisis is locked in. It's the psychological realization that you've built a life and an identity that feels like a costume, one that fits society's needs, but none of your own. This leads to separation. You might find yourself mentally checking out at your desk, or physically pulling away from long-term relationships as your brain tries to distance itself from a path it no longer desires. Instead of fighting this apathetic feeling, you have to lean into it. The most effective way to navigate this is to take an intentional time out, a deliberate pause to break the momentum of your old autopilot life. Most people panic when they see the gap in this timeline. They try to rush through the uncertainty by immediately planning a new, secure future. But you can't build a new life until you've sat in the silence of the old one. Resisting the urge to have all the answers is the only way to shed your false, externally motivated identity. It's a mandatory period of psychological clearing. Once you stop clinging to the old script, you enter the identity laboratory. This is a decade designed for running active experiments on who you could become, rather than worrying about who you are supposed to be. The two-track strategy lets you experiment while remaining stable, balancing a deep look inward with a broad look outward. Track 1 is internal archaeology, looking back at childhood impulses that brought visceral joy before the world told you what was practical. For Steve Jobs, it was being hypnotized by the physical design of glass tubes and technological devices in a storefront window as a boy. For others, it might be an obsession with the way a vulture moves through the air or a primal fascination with biology. Reconnecting with that raw impulse changes how you process information. When you align your work with that childhood interest, your brain pays deeper attention and learns twice as fast, helping you recognize opportunities that others miss. Once that internal filter is in place, you can move to track 2. The world becomes a testing ground where you can try on different versions of yourself through broad exploration. This is the time for living in foreign cities, changing industries, and testing completely different career paths to see which environments actually fit your nature. This core impulse is what converts random adventures into professional skills. If your natural interest is in social patterns, a job in a busy cafe becomes a high-stakes study in communication and persuasion. You are mining every situation for the specific skills that feed your natural obsession. In the Identity Lab, dead-end jobs and tough breakups are simply data points. They teach you the edges of your personality and help you define what you will no longer tolerate. Broad exploration prevents burnout because you are always anchored to something that emotionally engages you. It allows you to build a unique set of skills that the one-track world can't replicate. Phase 4 is the rebuild. Armed with the data from your experiments, you can finally start crafting an external career and lifestyle that actually aligns with your internal discoveries. The approval of others loses its power. You begin to base your decisions on the neurochemical signature of genuine interest, that physical feeling of delight when the work you're doing finally clicks. This chart tracks the result of those choices. It starts flat, built on unglamorous daily disciplines and small acts of courage, before the alignment of your skills and your interests causes your life to arc upward exponentially. Think of your 20s as the dress rehearsal. The visible mistakes you make now are simply the cost of earning a more polished, authentic performance in your 30s and beyond. Surviving this crisis forces a shift in how you process the world. You stop looking for external permission because you've developed a sense of direction that finally points forward on its own.